I'm going to call to order this Lacey City Council meeting on May 10th, 2018. And can everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I have one amendment to tonight's agenda. I would move that we add item 9A, a resolution for the Heritage Capital Grant application authorization. Make it
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt today's amended agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. We have an agenda. And first up is our public recognitions and presentations. We have a presentation from GRuB. Katie?
All right, good evening, Lacey City Council, Mr. Mayor, and guests. My name is Katie Rains. I'm the Executive Director at GRuB, and many of your faces are familiar and some less familiar, so I'm happy to have a chance to speak with you all. This is my 6th time here at Lacey City Council, and I'm going to give you just a few updates about GRuB's work. There's no way I could cover everything we're doing in 5 minutes and make sure I have time for our youth speaker to join me, so I'm going to focus on what's most relevant to the people here in Lacey. Roy, where am I supposed to point this? There we go. So for those of you who don't know as much about GRuB, we're a local nonprofit that was founded in 2001. Some of our programs predate that from 93 and 96. And over the last few years, we've been working on our strategic direction as we've grown dramatically over the last 7 years, partly by virtue of our GRuB school program that we piloted in 2009 and 10, or 2010, 2011. In that process, we have updated our mission to keep it real simple and straightforward. GRuB grows healthy food, people, and community. With our roots in the land, we create opportunities for people to learn, lead, and thrive. I'm going to talk about all of the programs that we do to offer that really briefly. Within that context, we have 5 strategic goals and ways that we're looking to make change throughout the whole community, and particularly for people in Thurston County. One of those that'll be relevant to the folks here in Lacey in the coming years is through our youth development work. So we offer a GRuB school program out in West Olympia, and one of our strategic priorities is to create more opportunities for young people to engage in their education and job training in connection with the land and with a support base of healthy relationships. There we go. So these are all of our programs, and this is why I could not possibly get to all of it in the time we've got. But I'm going to give a quick rundown. So GRuB School, this is a program where youth are involved in our program 3 periods a day for a block period. We're currently working with Capitol High School. And they're earning credits in addition to a summer job where they earned a stipend and a New Market Skills Center credit. We have the Victory Garden Project and Victory Farmers. So the Victory Garden Project is where we build backyard gardens for low-income families and in partnership with other institutions like schools, like churches, like senior centers. And the Victory Farmers is the work that we do to engage veterans who are transitioning as volunteers and to give them a sense of purpose and opportunity in growing food and nourishing our community as well. Seed to Table Edible Education and Field Trips. We offer field trips for younger kids at the farm, as well as summer camps now, which is a pretty new offering for us. For the first time this year, we did a couple of day camps during spring break, and any materials that are left over here I'll leave at the front for guests who might be interested, but there's opportunities this summer for younger kids, 6 to 10 years old, to come out to the GRuB farm for a week and have a summer camp on different food aspects. 10 Gather and Grow curriculum. This is work that's being championed by Elise Crone, and she's working in partnership with local tribes and tribal educators to create a curriculum that can connect more adults and youth with native plants and with the kind of wild landscape, as well as the cultural land management practices that Indigenous nations have stewarded in this region for many years. She is doing work in partnership with a lot of Salish Sea tribes as well as Nisqually, including creating some train-the-trainer models for Nisqually members, many of whom live here in Lacey, as you know. The other thing that will be relevant here in Lacey is what we call youth program pollination. So that's where we take the best of what we've learned in youth development and create opportunities for other communities to replicate it and transform it in ways that work for them. So I'll talk more about how that will be coming to play here. Cultivating community and leaders is one of the roles that we play in training our volunteers, our donors, our community partners in the multicultural model that we use that creates the GRuB magic, part of what people think is so special about their experience when they come to GRuB. And then we have community workshops, of course, partly in partnership with the Olympia Food Co-op, as well as hosted by alumni and other folks. They range from learning to cook on a budget, to preserving the harvest, to learning how to succession plant. And then the last one, which is a bit of a sweetheart for me, because it's been a project I've been working on for 5 years, we are piloting, in partnership with Olympia Pediatrics, which is right on that line between Lacey and Olympia, a prescription program for children who are having health challenges to be prescribed a garden by their physician and to receive some health coaching from local nurses who are staff at Providence St. Peter's, and to have a cohort gathering and learn about food and connection with food at the GRuB farm. So what are we up to in Lacey? So first of all, thank you to the Lacey City Council for your ongoing support of our work. One of the things that this community has done is made an investment in what was used to be the Kitchen Garden Project and now the Victory Garden Project. So by offering us a contract each year, the City of Lacey is able to ensure that we're able to build gardens for families with limited incomes here in Lacey. So this year we've been able to build 7 gardens for low-income households in Lacey, and we're working in partnership with St. Mark's. We host gardener orientations to reduce barriers for folks connecting with us, so we really try to bring it all home and keep it in the community here. I think something that we're very excited about, that I hope you all are very excited about, is partly related to the Community Development Block Grant. So we're partnering with the Thurston County Food Bank, and right up the street on Martin Way we'll be launching the new Victory Farm, which is a volunteer-led, veteran-led farm site that will be used for education, that will be used for volunteerism, and a lot of that food that's grown on that site will be going straight into the food bank's market stand, which will face right out on Martin Way. So we're in development on that. We just met with the director of the food bank last week, and everything's moving forward. Site planning's moving forward. We are waiting for some permits to figure out where the actual lines are before the deer fence can go up. So it's in early conversation phases, but after several years, we now have a program, a GRuB school program at Olympia High School. We will actually be transitioning the Capitol High School program over to that same site. So Olympia School District runs the Freedom Farmers program. The Tumwater School District, in partnership with the City of Tumwater, runs the Fresh program at the Isabella Busch Garden Park. And we are now, partly thanks to the Lacey Rotary presentation, in conversations with North Thurston Public Schools about launching a GRuB-like program here. Many of the schools in North Thurston Public School District already have gardens, and so the model could look quite different than what we've done at our site, but we can still bring all of what we've learned from our experiences with many school districts at this point to that. So we're in discussion, and stay tuned. I'm quite optimistic. And then, of course, right now, while we're in planning phases, we're not doing a ton of veteran programming at this time. Part of why we're engaging veterans is that we're so close to the 5th largest military base in the world, and a lot of vets, as they end their service term at Joint Base Lewis McChord, discover what a beautiful place this is to live and what a rich community we're part of, and choose to stay. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they come with a sense of rootedness and connection here. So part of our work is around engaging veterans in both peer support and creating opportunities for veterans and civilians to connect and foster a sense of purpose together. So alongside growing food and building gardens for folks who need it and the purpose and meaningful work that comes with that, we also are going to be doing some peer support programming in partnership with the Lacey Veterans Hub and other support organizations like the Veteran Conservation Corps out of the State Department of Veterans Affairs. So I got a tiny bit ahead of myself, but just to give some visuals for folks who've never seen a GRuB garden, if you see a garden that looks like that, 3 4x8 beds and a big pea trellis, it was probably made by GRuB or inspired by GRuB. Not that we inspire every garden in the community, but if it was made that way, it's likely we had something to do with it. And this is a photo from 2014, which was the first year we really started working with veterans. And with the exception of the gardener there in the middle, every person here is a veteran or veteran spouse. And that's some of the work that we intend to see more of over the coming years and have been able to do really well. in part because we recently hired a new Victory Garden project coordinator, and she is both a veteran herself and is a student of sustainable agriculture at Evergreen, and will be helping with the site planning for the new farm site. And it's good because we'll need it, because it's kind of an abandoned lot and that soil is not yet fertile, so it's gonna need some love. So I wanted to just read one of the quotes from a gardener last year so that you can have a little sense of the impact that this program and the contributions the city makes have on it. Having a grub garden has brought beauty, nourishment, and connection to my life. It helped me gain basic skills for self-sufficiency and significantly grew my confidence in being able to provide for myself and my family. It was a source of pride. It was a source of good outdoor exercise. I also feel a new depth in my relationship with land and food because of actually having the experience of growing my own for the first time. I am really excited to share this gift with my baby, who will be old enough to toddle around the garden next season. So, like I said, we don't exactly know what a program here in North Thurston will look like because there's so much happening at individual schools already. But we know that students from the North Thurston School District can benefit from this opportunity. We, more than being like a 4-H program or Future Farmers of America, we really create opportunities for students who've experienced disparities in the educational system, who can thrive on the land as opposed to in a classroom. And so we're looking forward to having a site. This is the early years of I think this was the first full summer season after we launched of the Tumwater Fresh Farm. And so we're excited to share what that might look like here next spring. But I do have a couple of bits of information about the GRuB School program and what you all might expect in this community as a result. So one of them you'll get to hear a little bit later from Kyle. Every one of our students, 100% of students last year who were part of our program felt a significant jump in their public speaking ability. Don't get me wrong, that still means it requires courage to get up there, but they all felt they got some of that. 91% had improved communication skills. 91% also felt a stronger locus of control. So basically the belief that they have authority over their lives and it's not just happening to them. And 82% of our students felt improvement in their self-esteem. So when those things are true, educational outcomes, job maintenance and outcomes, all behavioral issues are likely to increase and reduce commensurately when you feel better about yourself and feel engaged and as though you're able to communicate your needs. So I often take the opportunity to get up here and just ramble all of the things that we do to you, which I've already done so far, but I wanted to just pan back a little bit and make sure that folks understand the impact this really has on our community. A few years ago, we realized that we're not really creating food security. Our growing season, even though it gets longer every year, is still only so much, and it only creates much access during that window of time, and it doesn't address the need for milk or bread or anything else, but it increases access to fresh food, which is the most expensive food. And so that has long-term health benefits. So a combination of feeling more secure in the moment, I already shared that quote from the gardener, but also having the ability to feel generous and have something that you're living in abundance with. So the ability to share something. The long-term physical and mental health benefits, they're also economic benefits. A few years ago when we were working with Representative Reichdahl, one of the things that he shared was that young people who are graduating from high school have access to earn upwards of $500,000 more than if they dropped out. Similarly, if we can keep people connected with fresh food, we can reduce the number of days that are spent sick. We can reduce the number of days that work is missed, and those all have an aggregate impact over time. This is just a little side note in that realm of abundance. If you've never heard of it, it's coming up. If you haven't planted zucchini yet, there is in fact a day called Sneak Zucchini Onto Your Neighbor's Porch Day. It's meant for those really big like boat zucchini, and that's on August 8th. So get planting and you'll have something to share later. Cultivating resilience and a sense of community. That's a lot of the work that we're doing with veterans, but it's true of our staff, of our volunteers, of our students as well. Having peer support and having a sense of belonging is, in our hierarchy of needs. Everyone does need that. And having a sense of purpose and recognizing that you have something to contribute. Those are all really powerful. We also prioritize partnering with folks who've experienced marginalization, and through that we really redistribute resources, access to information, literal resources like seeds, like gardens, etc., with folks who need it most. So when I think about GRuB, let's see, there we go. I really see us right in the middle of that. We work in the nexus of education, economic systems, and healthcare. And that's really where we kind of see our little niche in making a difference in our community. So with that, I'll say thank you, and we'll get to the really good part. And I'd like to invite Kyle up.
Hello, my name is Kyle Parker. Currently, I'm enrolled at the Waterfall School Program, GRuB, along with 16 other youth crew working day by day to reach our goal to end hunger in Thurston County. I've been in this program 10 months, getting to go out on the farm day by day, seeing it grow with the staff and other crew, our relationships, and our friendships. GRuB gave me a chance to prove that I'm not a nobody, but I'm a somebody. And that somebody has grown since first entering the program. When I first came to GRuB, I wasn't sure how to feel. I wasn't sure what it was about. So I kept to myself a lot until we started the activities that we do on the farm. One of these activities that has helped me be successful in GRuB or life is weekly Straight Talk. Straight Talk is a communication skill built exactly for team building. This activity is where a group of 3 members and 1 staff gather in a circle and take turns exchanging 2 alphas and 1 delta. Alphas being one thing that you either did really well on or are doing really well on. Deltas being one thing that you can improve on or didn't really do so hot on that week. Knowing how I'm doing on a weekly basis helps me out a lot. I've seen how it helps me and other people firsthand. It's really just one of the many eye-opening experiences that GRuB has to offer, or programs like this. I would definitely say that if there were more programs like this around Washington or the world, that there wouldn't be so much negativity, procrastination, or harassment as there is throughout anyone's lives. There's no feeling like saying that you impacted the community that you grew up in. I'm definitely for sure that if anyone you know or you join, you will most definitely not leave with just a smile on your face, but as a changed person. Thank you.
Good job, Kyle. So I thank you all for your ongoing support and your time this evening. Do you have any questions for Kyle or myself?
Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time. So next up is a recognition of Kristina from our Historic Commission. I know she's unable to make it here at last second, but we're still going to say a few words. I can see Eric here.
Well, thank you, Mayor Ryder and members of the council. My name is Eric Ebel. I'm the chair of the Lacey Historical Commission. I want to acknowledge my fellow Historical Commission members who are present today. If you could raise your hands, please. Very good. Alan, thank you for being here. It is unfortunate that Kristina couldn't make it here today through no fault of her own, but really, we can't say enough good things about the service that Kristina provided to the Historical Commission. She served on the commission for 5 years and 6 months. She was the chair of our ad hoc policy committee for 4 years, leading the team in updating museum policies and improving our standards to meet the field's best practices. Kristina has been an incredible asset to the commission, providing expertise in administration and volunteer management. In addition to her work on the commission, she has been a committed museum volunteer, logging 800 hours of volunteer time. She's helped keep the museum open during times when the curator was unable to be there, and she's assisted on countless projects, including working on research files and updating school class photo records. The Lacey Historical Society requests her assistance every year at their annual meeting to share Lacey school class notebooks with their members. She remains a tireless advocate for the museum and Lacey's history, and she does it all with a positive, I'll do anything you need attitude. We look forward to continuing our relationship with Kristina as she plans to continue volunteering at the Lacey Museum. So I know she'll be coming by tomorrow. So this, Kristina, is for you. And we also have a nice bouquet of flowers that we picked up as well. And just want to once again say thank you so much for your service.
Great. So next up on our agenda is public comments on items not on the agenda. I have one person signed up. Maybe there's some other people in too. Let's, Karen first from the American Legion. Can you give your full name and please keep your comments about 3 minutes?
Yes. My name is Karen Grunler. I am a member of the R.V. Van Schoik American Legion Post and Unit in Lacey. This month we remember Memorial Day, and I have a poppy for you. And also I have a copy of the In Flanders Field. I'm sorry I don't have enough copies for everybody because I didn't know how many were going to be here. The American Legion has proclaimed May 25th as Poppy Day now. And they do have a new pin out, which I do have on tonight. So, and also you will find an explanation of how the poppy story started. The the In Flanders Field was written by a Canadian, I'm sorry to say, but he was a Canadian doctor. His name was Lieutenant John McCrae in the spring of 1915. He was standing there one day and he noticed how many poppies were blooming in fields where there had been so many battles. So he wrote the poem, and then after World War I, there was a young lady in New York City that thought something should be done. Her name was Miss Monita Michaels. She went into a department store and bought every poppy they had, which was one bouquet, and passed them out and said, "Remember your fallen soldiers." It's a remembrance. So, and it explains the what the poppy stands for. And I also enclosed a picture that we give all the children that come by. We will be doing poppies at the Safeway on Pacific on Friday the 18th, Saturday the 19th, and the 20th. It is all by donations, and all the money goes to help veterans. We cannot use it for anything else. We donate to the American Lake for canteen books to give out at bingo games. It helps us pay for gifts for the gift shop at American Lake and also at Ording Soldiers Home. We go out and buy gifts, try to do it all year long. We set up a small store. The patients come in, they're allowed 2 gifts per family member. A lot of it is grandkids or spouses. We then wrap the gifts and we ship the gifts, and it's no cost to the veterans. We also donate and help out with the hub, and any veteran that stops in, if they need something, we help them out. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we hope you'll all wear them on the 25th.
Okay.
I don't know if I have enough copies for everybody, but.
You can just pass them here and we'll pass them down if you'd like. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So is there anyone else wishing to address the council? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I just want to take a moment to,
Can you please
forget
state your,
my name. My name is
state your
Don
full
Hewitt.
name and keep your comments about 3 minutes?
Sure. I just wanted to take a moment to discuss the Lacey Police Department. We were having an issue with our neighbor and her son. In our neighborhood, we're practically all family, and the issue was quite complex and was about ready to escalate into serious violence. I called the Lacey non-emergency line, and a Lacey police officer came by to visit us. I want to recognize the Lacey Police Department for performing their jobs, their duty extraordinarily well. The officer who came by performed his duties well. He personally visited all the parties involved and worked with us. He explained the issues and what the ramifications of the actions of all the parties involved would be. He explained what the police can and would be forced to do. He helped guide us and give us sensible advice. In short, he stopped an event that was going to become very violent in our neighborhood. I know the police do not always see how they have helped people, but they do help us. a lot. Because of all this officer's actions, all of the parents who were involved got together, discussed the issues, and are now actually becoming close friends. They realized everybody was trying to do the right thing. In fact, we're all planning on having a barbecue together. It's actually my neighbor, and we're all a very close-knit group. The mother and son that were involved in this are now voluntarily attending family counseling. The Lacey Police are doing an outstanding job of serving the community. The Lacey Police saved a family. But mostly, they saved a child who would have run away from home. I'm requesting that you, the City Council, recognize First Officer Mercer for his outstanding work, because he's the particular officer that came and helped us. I'm also requesting that you recognize the leadership of the Lacey Police Department, because you guys must be doing an outstanding job as well. I further request that you recognize the members of the Lacey Police Department, because they're all performing their jobs well, and we interacted with quite a few of them. I've been impressed with each and every police officer that we interacted with. Kudos to the Lacey Police. Keep up the good work. Your service to our community, your sacrifices are appreciated. You are our police, and we as citizens of Lacey thank you. And thanks for giving me a chance to speak, and I'd like to give a hand to the Lacey Police Department. And I got one more thing here. We give this to you, just go and pass it down. This is for Officer Mercer. It's a certificate of appreciation in the world's best police department for the Lacey Police.
Wow.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for coming and talking to us. You know, it seems like we only hear the bad stuff, so it's really great to hear it. Really appreciate that. So it looks like we have the VCB here.
Thank you.
Gosh, some tough comments to follow. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name's Shana Stewart, and I'm the Executive Director of the Visitor and Convention Bureau. And tonight we're here to celebrate the 35th Annual National Travel and Tourism Week, a recognition of the businesses, people, and industries that make America's greatest pastime possible. The theme of this year's National Travel and Tourism Week is Travel Then and Now, to highlight the travel industry's history of economic impact in every corner of our communities and its enduring ethos of welcoming travelers from near and far. Travel really improves a lot of things. Everything, you might say. You often hear me talk about economic impact of travel in our community, the jobs created, tax revenues generated, the local businesses supported. And tonight I just want to take some time to expand on the list of things that travel impacts in our community and in our lives. In addition to the dollars and cents, travel can also have a positive effect on personal well-being for residents and visitors of Lacey. Numerous research studies have confirmed the positive health benefits of travel and time off. Some of these benefits include reducing heart disease and decreasing depression. So I guess you can say travel changes lives. We also know that travel with family is good for families and especially good for our children. Making memories strengthens family bonds, and kids who travel with their families are more likely to attend college and earn more as adults. I'm so proud to work in an industry that is making such a positive impact. I'm also proud to work in a community and in the Lacey community that is made up of people who are continuously welcoming people from all over the world. From leisure travelers and sports enthusiasts to military families and business travelers, people come here from near and far to connect with our local community in really meaningful ways. Lacey stands ready for these visitors with open arms and welcoming messages, and for that I'm really thankful. I have a board member here and a local business owner in the Lacey area who will share his stories of welcome. But before I conclude, I want to invite you to join us for our annual State of Tourism meeting on May 19th at the Great Wolf Lodge. We will celebrate a phenomenal 2017 and some pretty special individuals who make our tourism community so special. While we'll launch and I'll report on our official Dean Runyon reports at that time, I will give you a sneak peek to let you know that Thurston County achieved double-digit growth in 2017 and continued to outpace Washington and as many of the destinations that we've been able to track so far. So we're really excited about that, and thank you for your continued support of our organization and the industry.
So, Shana, before I'm going to put you on the spot, do you want to talk a little bit about the two boats that are coming into dock? Aren't they coming this weekend? Is it this weekend and coming up next soon?
So there is a cruise line that's coming in on Friday, and they are a high-end excursion cruise liners. So they're kind of extreme adventurous. It sounds like they're going to be going up to Mount Rainier and enjoying probably extreme adventure on that. And then we're going to be welcoming American Cruise Lines this summer and fall, and really looking forward to rolling out the red carpet for that particular group. They'll have an opportunity to experience our destination and probably have a lot more exposure to Thurston County as a region. Thanks for
Great.
asking.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, my name's Josh Stottlemyre. As Shana mentioned, I am on the board of the Visitor and Convention Bureau. I'm also a local business owner here. I own Stottle Winery in Lacey, Hawks Prairie, Meridian campus. I wanted to speak in support of tourism initiatives because this is National Tourism Week. And well, Stottle has a strong local support. The community has just been great in supporting us. Nearly 50% of our annual visitors come from outside the area, and about 25% of those come from outside of the state. So people are coming from all over. Without the tourism, our business simply would not survive. So I really want to thank the council and the city of Lacey for their support of tourism. Initiatives like the wayfinding sign that started a few years back has really helped us and other businesses in the area. It's helped the tourists that come into the area not familiar with it get around and find the attractions. Let's see. On top of that, the Visitor and Convention Bureau, which the city of Lacey supports, as do several other cities in the area, has made a giant impact on tourism in the last several years. Prior to about 3 years ago, we would rarely, if ever, see people come into our doors and say, we ask them, why are you here? Why are you in the area? And they'd generally say something like, I'm coming to visit a relative, something like that. Well, now we have them all the time that come in. They say they're here to visit Lacey, to visit Olympia, to visit Thurston County. And that never happened before. And that's, the big changes, the economic support that's facilitated through the VCB and really has drawn people and promoted the area. So again, I want to thank the council for their support of that. Tourism brings money into the community, and there's very few things that can do that. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to address this council on any items not on the agenda? Seeing none, next up is our proclamation of May is a Better Hearing Month. And we'll start down.
Okay. City of Lacey official proclamation. Whereas Better Hearing Month calls attention to the fact that hearing loss is widespread and impacts many people in this community directly, and recognizes that many of us have family, friends, and coworkers with hearing loss, and
whereas approximately 20% of the American population experiences hearing loss, and
whereas approximately 60% of people with hearing loss are in the workforce or in school, and
Whereas almost 15% of school-aged children ages 6 to 19 have some degree of hearing loss, and
whereas many individuals do not get treatment for hearing loss because of a perceived stigma or embarrassment, and
whereas untreated hearing loss can lead to communication challenges, isolation, depression, loss of functionality in the workplace, reduced earnings, increased falls, and possible progression to dementia. And whereas diagnosis and treatment of hearing loss can help avoid these consequences. And whereas the month of May has been designed as the Better Hearing Month for over 75 years, now therefore I, Andy Ryder, Mayor of the City of Lacey, on behalf of the Lacey City Council, do hereby proclaim May 2018 as Better Hearing Month in the city of Lacey. And I encourage all citizens to get an audiology exam and follow recommendations for treatment, if any. Signed, Mayor Andy Ryder, on May 10th, 2018. Is Cynthia here to accept this? Please come.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll have a quick photo up here.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thanks. Do I get to say a word or two?
Please do.
Okay.
That was awesome, and I just want to say thank you very much. I'm here representing the Hearing Loss Association of Washington. I have had a hearing loss myself since the age of 3 when I had the measles, and thank goodness we have vaccines now and kids don't have to go through that. I'm not going to repeat all of the things that are in here, but our real goal is to make sure that people are aware, do get their hearing treated, and don't suffer the real disadvantages of not being able to hear. And it ranges from kids not being able to learn to, as you mentioned in the proclamation, adults either being confused with having dementia or even progressing to dementia because of untreated hearing loss. So on behalf of all of those of us who have this issue, thank you very much for this recognition. I'm hoping that it will call attention in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. So next up on our agenda is the amended agenda item for the resolution for the Heritage Capital Grant application. Jen?
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members. Thank you for this opportunity to look at this resolution. So before you tonight is the Heritage Capital Grant application, looking for authorization to apply, looking for a motion to pass this resolution, and this grant is actually offered through the Washington State Historical Society. The deadline for the grant is May 18th, which is next week. We have identified matching funds in this application on page 13 and 14, and the Parks and Recreation Department is seeking funding in $1 million for the new Lacey Museum project for the purpose of completing the planning and construction documents, including site plans. A requirement of this application is a dated and labeled meeting minutes or signed resolution showing official approval of the proposed project and authorization for this application by the council. Advantages of this recommendation is that this action emphasizes the importance and value of history in Lacey. It leverages current resources and by doing so shows financial responsibility. We would get planning and construction documents, which is the next logical phase of the proposed project if awarded the grant funding, and this would prepare the Lacey Museum project for the next phase. We don't see any disadvantages. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Can I get a motion?
I move that we approve Resolution 1058, approving the Lacey Museum project and authorizing the Heritage Capital Grant application.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Can we only apply for this grant once, or can we apply for it over multiple years? And I'm wondering what are our chances of getting, how often, how many different projects do they fund?
So this particular grant comes open every 2 years. Do you know if we are eligible, if we've already applied?
Yeah, we're eligible to reapply to continue the next phase of the project every 2 years as long as we have completed the project within the 2-year time frame that they've given us. And we can reapply as many times as we need to get the project completed.
And how competitive of a process is it?
I would say it's moderate. I think we have a decent chance. They fund up to $1 million worth of projects. Sorry, not 1 million, 10 million. And so it sort of depends on how many people put in and how much theirs are. It's possible too that they could just partially fund the grant as well. But I think we have a reasonably good chance.
Great, thank you.
Excellent.
Is there any other discussion? It's been moved and seconded to authorize the signing of this resolution for the Heritage Capital Grant application. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you, and I wanted to acknowledge all of Erin's hard work with this grant application. She really has gone above and beyond with a tight timeline. So thank you, Erin.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron, for
Thank
all
you,
you do. So next up is the city manager's report.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, we have a number of items for you. The first up is actually going to be given by Parks Director Jennifer Burbridge about smoking in park properties.
All right, well, hello again. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about tobacco use in Lacey Parks. The recommendation before you is to approve the Lacey Park rule update to include the ban of all tobacco and vaping use in Lacey's park system. As you know, there have been a number of reviews regarding this topic, with ultimately the Lacey Board of Park Commissioners voting to ban the tobacco use to include vaping at their February 7th, 2018 meeting. And I'll direct your attention to the screen to go over just a little bit of background information. Over 1,200 cities have made their parks smoke and tobacco free. In a recent poll by NRPA, which is the National Recreation and Park Association, 79% of Americans do support banning the use of tobacco in parks. Here's a list of Washington cities that have smoke-free parks. I'll let you just kind of review that list. Current laws and practices from a national down to a local level, National Park Service prohibits use of tobacco and vape products in any national parks. Washington state law prohibits smoking in all indoor public spaces. They also identify some smoke-free areas in the Washington state law. Washington state law also prohibits use of all tobacco products on public school property and grounds. Washington state law prohibits smoking or consuming marijuana in view of the public. And currently, or before this rule change, the City of Lacey Parks provides designated smoking areas as needed. And a look at our neighboring jurisdictions. In Olympia, there was a park-wide smoking and vaping ban. Tumwater passed a resolution in 2012 discouraging but not prohibiting smoking in parks. Thurston County, their property is tobacco-free but not parks. And in Washington State, at our local location, smoking is allowed, so Heritage and Sylvester Parks. Here's a glimpse, and you've seen this before, just another glimpse at other cities' experiences in the Northwest. So here's the experience of Seattle and their signage. Tacoma, they had a campaign called Breathe Easy, and a lot of pictures of kids who are recreating, so a message for health and wellness. It's going well for them in Tacoma. Here's Portland, went into effect in 2015. It's working out well for them. As you know, communication would be super important. Here's some examples of some signage and education campaigns. We would work with our public affairs team to come up with a communications plan, do a media release, and a signage campaign. And this will be essential. So we've talked about before when we discussed this, this rule would be less about enforcement and more about public health and wellness and education. And although the park rule would be effective immediately, the city would take a posture of education, allowing citizens time to get used to the new rule. Also, it would be impossible to get signage out immediately, so we would need to budget for an update signage and install new signage. So again, the recommendation would be to provide final approval of the park rule update. And so the park board has approved the rule and filed it with the city clerk. And so the updated rules are actually in your attachment. If you look at number 9 under section B, it reads, number 9 uses any tobacco or vaping product. And it appears right underneath the marijuana rule. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Can I get a motion?
I move to approve Lacey Park rules update to include the ban of all tobacco and vaping use in Lacey's park system.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Discussion. Councilman.
I have actually two questions. One, what do you see as the cost of implementing this with the signage and the public, process?
The signage, actually, we're doing an inventory right now, and then we were going to look at cost next. But I would say $5,000 or less.
And the second question is, you said at one point you did have designated smoking areas in the parks. What was the problem with that? Did it not work well, or?
The designate, so as we had talked about before, it did work fairly well, but there was more discussion around the topic, and again, more about health and wellness and education of what's healthy and what's a healthy behavior, and also protecting the kids with health and wellness opportunities at our parks. And so it was decided by Park Board to go ahead and approve it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember.
Was it a unanimous vote to approve by the park board?
Yes.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded to approve the Lacey Park rules update to include the ban of all tobacco and vaping use in Lacey Park system. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
The next item before council is the social media policy, and Director of Administrative Services Bach will provide that information.
Good evening. So before you is a recommendation to adopt social media policy for the council's policies and procedures document. The council has discussed this beginning in December with the General Government and Public Safety Committee, and again at a council work session in February and in April. So before you is a proposed section for your policies and procedures manual on social media, and how the council can appropriately use social media while complying with your own processes, as well as applicable state laws, particularly the Public Records Act and Open Public Meetings Act. A little bit of adjustment was made after your last work session conversation, just to make the disclaimers at the end easier for you to use. There's one specific for when you're using a personal account, and then one that would be used when you've got official city Facebook page for your social media use. So the recommendation again is to move forward with adopting the social media policy and filling in that blank that's in your current policies and procedures guide, and then that would pave the way for council members who wish to have a official city Facebook page.
I'd move to adopt the social media policy as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the social media policy. Is there any discussion? Councilmember?
Yeah, I will not be voting in support of this policy change. I believe that what's posted on these pages will look to be the official policy or stance of the city and this council, especially if it's on the mayor or deputy mayor's page. As we all know, in our form of government, no individual council member speaks for the city or for this council. We're a body of 7 equal votes, and only through that vote do we speak for the city. So I'm absolutely opposed to this. I think it's a huge mistake.
So are you opposed to the entire social media policy, or just the portion that would allow an individual council member's Facebook page? Because those are two separate.
Well, they're not really two separate. That's part of the policy. So I can't support the policy if the policy allows for official Facebook pages for council members.
Is there any other discussion?
I do actually have one other thing. Councilmember Hearn, who couldn't be here tonight because he's ill, actually forwarded me a statement and asked if I could read that into the record. So this is Councilmember Hearn's statement. Let's see. The council represents the citizens of the city at large, but does not work for the city government. No council member speaks for the council or the city on pending policy, including the mayor and deputy mayor. Therefore, individual city government-sponsored Facebook accounts for council members are inappropriate at best and potentially destructive to the open meeting process at worst. We should have the city government report all council news centrally and not issue city government-sponsored individual council member Facebook accounts.
Is there any other discussion? Deputy Mayor?
So I may or may not use it because, well, you have to kind of be really understanding how things work. But, and I'm getting a little old for that, but I do think it allows information that applies to our city but does not apply to decision-making through somebody that wants to be on Facebook. And it is less, I think it causes a more skewed gray line by doing it on your personal Facebook page when it's, the information is pertaining to the city and information that I personally think that residents here in the city could utilize. And so I'm in favor of it, but yes, I think it has to be done carefully and clearly, not pushing decision-making, but pushing information that ordinarily may not get picked up, that because we all sit on a lot of committees that probably might not be pushed through the city website, but could be pushed through Facebook, through one of the council members' Facebook pages on the city. That's just my personal opinion.
Is there any other discussion? Councilmember?
I look at this as an attempt to modernize communication in the city. I mean, we have Facebook live streaming of council meetings now, and I think it's just another communication tool that, if handled properly, will enable the public to have more access to city issues. And I'm not sure whether I will actually have a Facebook page myself either, because I'm kind of lousy about keeping up with my personal Facebook page, to be honest about that. But I do think the safeguards are in place that require us to have statements on the page saying that, this is the opinion of this city council member and does not reflect the whole council. So I really commend staff for doing a great job of researching this and coming up with safeguards and smart process forward. Thank you.
My only comment is, I respectfully disagree with the idea that we shouldn't be doing this. To me, it comes down to, are we involved in social media or we're not? If we are on social media, there needs to be a clear separation between what we do on our personal lives, on our personal Facebook page, and the activities we do as our role as council member, deputy mayor, or mayor. And there's no way to separate that unless we have an official Facebook page that's designated as your council member role. I am not comfortable with, and I haven't been comfortable for a long time, talking about being out in the public in an official capacity as mayor and putting that on my personal Facebook page and having people comment on my personal Facebook page. And according to this new social media policy that we're about ready to vote on, it gives us strict guidelines on what is personal and what is city. And so a vote against this would be a vote to continue to put the city in jeopardy, and then I think put us all in the city in a position where we're setting ourselves up for possible conflicts and costs to the city because of the line that needs to be separated between personal and professional. I don't know how we do that without this social media policy, period. So either we all get off Facebook, where we have a policy that describes what we can do on Facebook and separates the two.
I have no objection to a policy about what we can or can't do on Facebook. My objection is to official city pages for the individual members. I support the city's page. And I think that's a great way to put information out to the public. I believe that this is wrought with huge craters and problems. This policy does very little to restrict what you can or can't do on that page that is your official page. So when you post something on your page, particularly you as the mayor, I believe that most people will see that as the official position of the city, even though it's not, because as you know, you don't speak for the city.
Oh, I agree.
But I do believe the public will see it as you speaking for the city, and that's why I will vote against this.
And I agree that we have to have a clear guidelines on that says that
But we
I
don't.
only speak. It will be.
This does not address that. There's no clear guidelines in this policy that address that.
I'd just add that in the disclaimer, for the city page, we added, after the last conversation, that part of that disclaimer would include, there's a bullet, the views expressed represent the views of the author and may not reflect the views of the Lacey City Council.
There we go.
For me, that's nowhere near strong enough to actually get the public to understand the difference and know that they're going to know the difference.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, we have obviously a difference of opinion on this
Yep,
one.
we have a difference of
We've discussed it
opinion.
at several work sessions, and, that's why there's 7 of us, right? We all get to vote our conscience.
That's right. So it's, go ahead.
I would add that officially or unofficially, if you hold the title of mayor or deputy mayor, like Virgil did for many years, or Graham, or Tom Nelson, that you are the face of the city. That's it. It's, it's not official, but when people think of Lacey, they think of the mayor. If they think in Lakewood, they think of the city, they think of the mayor of Lakewood. And inherent or official or unofficial, it's comes with the territory. So that's it for me.
That would be even more reason not to make it official.
So it's been moved and seconded to adopt our social media policy. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
The motion passes.
And the next item is the emergency water supply agreement with Olympia. This is going to be our water resources manager, Peter Brooks, will provide that information.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Before you tonight is an agreement with the City of Olympia for an emergency water supply. So this is in some ways similar, but in a lot of ways very different from what we had years back, starting in 2007 and until June of 2016, we had a wholesale water agreement. So under that, we paid for ready-to-serve charges and volume charges for the amount of water we took. And whether we took water or we didn't, we were just paying at least the ready-to-serve charges. And we did that for a while because we were working through our water rights acquisition strategy. So once that was all in place, we stopped that agreement. What we need to have now is simply a emergency water supply provision or agreement. So under this, we don't pay anything unless we use it. If we use it, then the smallest chunk of time we would pay for would be 1 week. So if it was something like, well, it was a little over a year ago, we had the microburst. The microburst like that happens again, and it knocks out power, and it takes us a while to get generators, and we don't have enough generators or whatever, and we needed a little extra water, 1 million gallons a day. This kind of an agreement would provide for that. It's just a Band-Aid, a first aid kit, or something like that, that it's just prudent to have. So we've negotiated this with Olympia. The terms, in terms of the rates we would pay, are very similar to the wholesale agreement. But as I say, we don't pay for anything unless we actually use it. And so the recommendation is that you authorize the city manager to sign the agreement.
I move to authorize the city manager to sign the emergency water supply agreement with the City of Olympia.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to have the city manager sign this emergency water supply agreement with the City of Olympia. Any discussion?
I have just one question. For tracking purposes, how does that occur? If so, you use it, is Olympia tracking when we end up using the emergency services?
Okay, so under the provisions of the agreement, we would make the request. if there was, say there was an earthquake, a substantial earthquake, and that's why we need water, well, maybe Olympia needs water too. Olympia has the right to refuse if they don't have 1 million gallons to spare for us. So we make the request. Presumably, if it wasn't something like that, they would approve it, and then we'd be authorized to turn on the water, take 1 million gallons a day.
And they're the ones that track when we shut down?
There is a meter on the intertie, so everybody knows exactly how much we take.
Okay, thank you.
If we were authorized and granted to take $1 million or 1 million gallons of water and we needed it, how much would it cost for that one day for that $1 million? Each single time?
I don't have that calculation. It's, in the agreement, it talks about the rate. So the very fact that we started would mean that we would have 1 week is the smallest provision, so that would be a little over $4,000, like $4,500 for the ready-to-serve charge, and then it's 22 cents per 100 cubic feet. So I can't do that math in my head and tell you what a day would be, but
I got
You can do that math in your head, right?
Of course.
Is there any other discussion? I think obviously this is something we need to do as a backup, makes sense.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. So it's been moved and second to have us sign this emergency water supply agreement between the city of Olympia and Lacey. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
thank you.
Another item before council is the Washington State Department of Transportation agreement for police services related to the interchange project. Commander Jim Mack will provide that information.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council, the Washington State Department of Transportation has requested extra police services for the interchange project that's going to be at Marvin Road in the 111 I-5 exit that's going to be starting later this summer. What their plan is to hire extra police officers, which would be off-duty, to help facilitate traffic control in that area. On April 24th, this agreement went to the General Government Committee, and they requested that it be moved forward to full City Council. So one of the advantages to signing this is that we can get paid for our services when we begin providing them. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
I would move that we authorize the city manager to sign extra duty police services contract GCB 2940 with the State of Washington Department of Transportation.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion?
I just have one question. Are the officers who provide this off-duty service, is this voluntary on their part? I mean,
Yes, it is. What we do is
Okay.
we post a sign up for all the necessary
Right.
dates, and they
Okay.
voluntarily sign up.
great, thanks.
Is there any other discussion? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks.
And the final item is a DSHS agreement related to additional police services, and Commander Mack will also provide the background on that issue.
Yes, thank you. Honorable Council, Deputy Mayor, or Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. The Department of Social and Health Services contacted us, I believe in March of 2018, and needed immediate police assistance at one of their facilities in Lacey. They believed that due to an employee situation, they wanted law enforcement on the premise. We provided immediate services for about a 2-week period. Thus, we need to get a contract in place to get payment from the Department of Social and Health Services. So again, on April 24th, this contract went to the General Government Committee, and it was moved forward to the full council for a vote. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have on that.
I move that we authorize the city manager to sign DSHS Agreement 1864-27972.
Second.
Move discussion?
I just want to add one item. You notice that this is a past event, but given the nature of the request, there's really no other way to facilitate it, but trying to keep the contractual arrangement, that's why we're back to you with the interlocal agreement.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
But this would also facilitate any future services, right, and payment?
This is one time in nature. So if there's additional services or another defined period, we do another interlocal agreement. This is just for this incident.
And if I understand it correctly, so the service has already been performed. If we don't authorize this, we're not getting paid for the work that was already done, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Is there a reason why we wouldn't do something that, an agreement that had like a 5-year sunset or something to circumvent having another call for service, if you will, with them.
So my understanding, the nature of this request was above and beyond what we would normally provide as a police department, and so this is a very specific, special police service that we provided at the request of the department.
Correct.
It's unique, and I wouldn't expect this to happen anytime soon.
Okay.
Actually, this did come before our general government committee, but the question I wondered is, has the situation diffused and we won't have to go back in and offer our services again for the same situation? Or I never did ask that in our committee, and for 2 weeks, but given the circumstances, I wasn't sure whether the whole thing went away.
It was some type of a situation involving an employee's domestic situation where they were fearful the other party may show up at the workplace and cause harm. So it was a preventative nature, try to be proactive by the state to have law enforcement there to deter any type of problem at the workplace.
But
I do not know where the situation is at right now.
okay, that's my question.
I'm sorry.
Any other discussion? This motion's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Great, you're done. So next up is our standing general committees. And first up is the Finance and Economic Development Committee, which met on April 24th. We had a pretty full agenda. Our first topic was our opportunity zones. An opportunity zone is in an economically distressed community where new investments under certain conditions may be eligible for preferential tax treatment. So, for example, investors with unrealized capital gains are taxed at a maximum of 20% federal tax plus a 3% surtax when they sell. And if they invest that money in an opportunity fund that helps set up a new business or helps an existing company expand in targeted areas, they could defer those taxes. There's been 4 opportunity zones that have been identified in Thurston County, which includes the Lacey Woodland District, the one-way couplet corridor out to I-5, downtown Olympia, and then the Squally Tribe land. So the IRS is in the process of creating regulations for these new opportunity zones, and once more information is available, the city and the EDC will partner to market the idea to potential investors. Next up was 2018 budget updates. Throughout the year, adjustments to the budget become necessary as a result of the City Council's actions, activity levels that were not anticipated during the budget development, and grant awards. There is several significant budget amendments that have been identified since the adoption of the 2018 budget. There's a list of them there. And so we discussed those. Next up was the review of our first quarter investment report. So hopefully, as this council knows and the public knows, we signed a services agreement with the Government Portfolio Advisors, GPA. So prior to this contract or working with them, we were basically just investing majority, all of our money in the state pool, and we weren't getting a very good return on our investment. Now that we have this company, they're taking a look at our investments and through strict standards are investing with about $60 million that we have. So it should be noted that the first quarter report does not include the entire quarter because the implementation of the city's investment strategy didn't occur till mid-February. And so for the quarter ending March 31st, 2018, the investments are stable and outperforming the state pool. Troy, can you give us at the time, I don't remember if we got the actual numbers of how much we made on those investments, or?
I don't have the specific numbers, but in terms of percentage, it's about 0.4%. So pretty significant when you look at the size of the portfolio. But I would remind the council that we're in a rising interest rate environment. So as rates get higher, that's going to kind of erode that difference. But we certainly have strategies in place to address that rising interest environment as well.
Great. So our next topic was the 2018 first quarter financial report. Long story short, we're having things are still going pretty well in the city of Lacey. Last year, we finished with 180 single-family residential permits, which was 46% lower than in 2016. But 2016 represented the strongest regional activity during this recovery period. Right now, basically, things are going really well. And there's really nothing too much to report on except that all of our projections are, I think, on pace. We're ahead of what we had budgeted, and so things look pretty good for our upcoming 2018 budget. And that is my report. So next up is the General Government Committee. Deputy Mayor.
So we have already acted on the DSHS agreement. We just finished the discussion on that, and also the WashDOT agreement for police services related to Exit 111. The third item our committee discussed was on a potential policy for intergovernmental agreements, and staff discussed the possibility of streamlining the approval process of these agreements. A possible alternative would be to place interlocal agreements that were one time or a limited dollar threshold on the council's consent agenda, as opposed to going through the council's committee process. And so obviously the DSHS agreement might be one of those if we had a policy in place. After the discussion, committee members asked staff to bring back a policy outline related to the approval of interlocal agreements for the General Government Committee to review at a future meeting. That's my report.
Thank you. Now we're on to boards, commissions, and committee reports. I'm up first. The Mayor's Forum did meet the first Friday of this month. We didn't have a specific agenda topic. We talked a little bit about what happened over May Day, and that the fact that the mayor of Olympia actually had people showing up at her house and distributing a sign that showed the arrow going through her head, and it was really not good. And so we talked about that quite a bit, about what the response was. This is the first time this has happened where the public has showed up at an elected official's house. And so it's obviously a scary moment for the Olympia mayor, and we talked a little bit more through that. But so that is the Mayor's Forum. The Transportation Policy Board did meet this past Wednesday, and really the entire meeting we had one major agenda item, and what that is the intercity transit's short and long-term policy goals and sort of financial outlook. And so we had the intercity transit's doing their due diligence right now about reaching out to the public. They, I think, sent out 10,000 questionnaires, and they've had like 3,500 responses. So there's a lot going on sort of looking at the current service levels and some recommendations going forward. And one of those recommendations, as it's been pointed out from Councilmember Cox, is that there will be a new route in Northeast Lacey. It's not going to go all the way up to Jubilee like we were hoping, but they're in the process of doing it. That hasn't actually been quite 100% approved yet, but it is something that they're currently talking about. But really, a lot of the time was spent with question and answers about where they're at in their budget, what are the challenges intercity transit is facing. For example, a lot of the intercity transit buses over the years were able to purchase with federal funds, and those federal funds have just have dried up. And so they have, I think, 15 buses that are basically past their life expectancy. They've been able to replace several of them, but they still have, I think they replaced 3 of them, but they still have the rest, the other 12 that need to be replaced, and they currently do not have any funding for that on the books. So it's been, this last state legislature, they received an additional taxing authority that could allow them to go out to a maximum of 0.4 of 1% for a sales tax increase. It would have to be voted on by the public. And so there was a sort of a detailed outline of what you get for each percent, 0.1% of, you go out all the way to the 0.4. And it really showed that at 0.1 of 1% really doesn't do a lot.
Can I ask you a quick question on that?
Sure.
They currently have 1/10, right?
Currently have 1/10.
So they're what they've been authorized is an additional 3.
3/10.
Okay.
So they could go out for a maximum of 0.4 of 1%. And so there was a breakdown that showed what you get with 1/10, what you get with 2/10, what you get with 3/10, and what you get with 4/10. And so we had just an ongoing back and forth discussion about what that looks like, what their plans would be. And the big question is when would they possibly go out? They're still in the process of making a decision on that, but I think it's something that we can expect going forward at some point. After the meeting, actually, I met with TRPC staff, and it really sort of highlights that there are a lot of different taxing authorities out there that are looking to go out for different measures. And I made the suggestion that I think the Thurston Region Planning Council should facilitate all those different taxing authorities to be able to get in one room, and so we could put sort of on a calendar when they're possibly looking to go out and how much they're looking to go out for, and just to have a better idea of where all these line up. And that would include the fire districts, the school districts, all the school districts in Thurston County, and all the different junior taxing authorities. And so we have a better idea. Obviously, this council knows it's, we've been looking at possibly a parks district, and so that would play into all of this of what this other cities have maybe planned. And of course, the county is interested in going out for a public safety. They need to do something with the courthouse. So there's a lot out there, and we all are aware of. First up is, we have to fund our 911 system that desperately needs upgrading, and so we know that's going to be at least 1/10 of 1%. So we need to really have a better understanding where this is all going to play out. And so that was the majority of our Transportation Policy Board meeting, and that is my report, Deputy Mayor.
So the Joint Animal Services Commission was supposed to meet last Thursday, but didn't because there wasn't a quorum. The items that were supposed to be on the agenda will be carried over to the next meeting. However, there will be a retreat on June 4th at the Lacey Community Center. For LOT met yesterday at May 9th. And it was a long 2-hour session so that we could cover information on our strategic 6-year plan. We discussed upcoming large capital projects such as the biological process improvements and the ultraviolet disinfection upgrades. And we had a discussion of supporting programs, including flow reduction programs to reduce water use. The discussion on our septic conversion incentive program, which I was really looking forward to, had to be postponed until our next month's meeting because we needed to be updated on our Martin Way Plants draft NPDES permit, which is now out for a 30-day comment period. The issue is that apparently the Goose Pond is showing high levels of nutrients. And as we have talked about before, but ecology has included in that MPDES draft permit a requirement to monitor Goose Pond for high levels of nutrients. The monitoring has to be done done by lot, or at least signed off by Lori Pierce, the LOT's Operation and Facilities Director, or Mike Strube, LOT's Executive Director, and to give to Ecology, which is a little odd, but because the argument was by Ecology is LOT is furnishing the reclaimed water, so therefore they are responsible if there is a nutrient problem. Okay, so that our business meeting followed the work session, and it consisted of about 3 items. We approved a water conservation rebate through LOT's Water Smart Technology Program to Providence St. Peter Hospital for the replacement of 2 sterilizers and 1 cart washer. And by the way, this Water Smart program has been in existence for quite some time. The rebate is for up to 75% of the cost. So in this case, it's $63,406.50. And how the rebate works is that the Water Conservation Coordinating Committee evaluates each Water Smart project to determine eligibility, comparing the estimated cost per gallon of water saved to LOT's cost effectiveness threshold of $17.39 per gallon. This project is expected to reduce flows by 3,763 gallons per day. And based on the proposed rebate amount of $63,406.50, the project is cost effective at $16.65 per gallon. Any request over $50,000 must go before the technical subcommittee, which our Public Works staff is on, and the board for approval. And we did approve it. So we had a presentation on the Biological Process Improvement Project, which will optimize the Bud Inlet Treatment Plant's current biological treatment process. Besides saving space, which is really a rare commodity in the facility, because it's been in existence since 1948, and there's been layers and layers and layers of development, it will significantly save energy costs. And I think Matt, who was giving the presentation, said it would save energy by 50%. Don't hold me to it, but it was significant. We also had an update on LOT's pretreatment program, which basically is LOT's oversight program for fats, oils, and grease, which is called FOG, prevention efforts. And staff regularly inspect food service establishments with the LOT service, within the LOT service area, to make sure the business removes fog before it reaches sewer lines. And if it reaches sewer lines, it can significantly clog the line up and cause major problems. LOT is working with partner jurisdictions to establish a voluntary certified pumper program to make sure establishments have certified pumper companies available and to ensure standards are consistent across companies. So the next item is the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency, which also met yesterday, only in the morning. We had election of officers, and Olympia Council member Jim Cooper was again elected as chair, and I was again elected as vice chair. We approved ORCA's 2019 budget. We approved the notice of construction, notice of intent fees, and this brought costs related to staff time closer to actual time spent on a project. Often, because of complexity, staff ends up working more than they're getting paid for, so they're kind of volunteering, actually. Not exactly, but sort of. It also focused more on amount of complexity, which increases staff time. And these NOC/NOI permits that takes little staff time will have less fees than those with more complexities. Also, a 3% CPI was added to keep up with inflation. The month of April, because of still being cool but no stagnation in the air, Thurston County, as well as all the other 5 counties, showed really good air quality for the full 30 days of recording, except for South Bend, which was 28 good days. But unfortunately, there was a problem with the monitor for a couple days. But if it had been complete, it probably also would show good air quality. And then the executive director discussed the registration program, letting us know that the agency will need to redo the codes in the coming month to bring it up to date with regulations. And that's my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Young.
I have no report, but I do want to say that Monday, the CIP is making their funding decisions for 2018. So I'll keep you guys posted.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Greenstein.
Well, I'll apologize up front because I have a much longer report than normal, but still shouldn't be too bad. So Thurston 911 met on May 2nd. A couple of things of interest there. The state 911 grant fund, which they had basically cut in half due to some budget shortfalls for the state, has been reestablished. So the 911 service is now getting its full funding from the 911 grant, which is not a very large part of the budget, but still $64,000. So far for this year, the finances for TCOM look really good. The revenues are ahead of budget and expenses are right on budget. So things are going in a good direction. Also, the state audit was just completed for 2015 and 2016. There were no findings, so everything there went well. The Chehalis Tribal Police are actually now becoming non-member users of Thurston 911. They currently use Gig Harbor, but they actually find that their service level and coverage level is actually better in our system than it is in the Gig Harbor system. So they're actually transferring their service over to Thurston County 911.
So is that going to add to the cost because they're going to be users and so we have to pay for their equipment?
Actually brought that up at the meeting before we approved it, and it actually insisted on it being written into the contract that they would pay all additional costs for all their equipment. We're not picking up any of their equipment cost.
Good, good.
Yeah, they will cover all of their own expense. And then last, this is pretty exciting actually, but we now have the new Smart 911, which will go live next month. Smart 911 is a service that allows residents to create a free safety profile for their household. That includes any information that they would want 911 and first responders to have in the event of an emergency. So once you've done that, when anyone in that household dials 911 from a phone associated with their profile, the profile is immediately displayed to the 911 call taker, providing additional information that can be used to facilitate the proper response. So whether it be a medical issue or a safety issue or whatever you have in that household, you can now have that on file with 911, so when they respond, they actually have a better idea of what they're going into. I don't know if you have anything you'd want to add to that, Commander Mack, but okay, thank you. Yeah, but it should be a really, really helpful to the public. So pretty exciting news, and that should go live next month. Okay, so also for TCOM, I sit on a subcommittee, which is a non-member fee subcommittee that's been meeting on and off for quite some time, but we've finally actually gotten to a place where we're ready to present what we've come up with. So that meeting was actually this morning. We have come to what we think is a fair and equitable fee schedule. It's going to be presented at the next board meeting to the TCOM board, along with a public hearing. We're inviting and we will notify everyone who's affected, which in the case of the city does include Public Works, for instance, who TCOM does some of their dispatch, and they do for all of the cities, along with animal control and countless others, ambulance service, tow trucks, quite a few. We think the new system will be more equitable. There will be some people paying a little more, some will pay a little less than they are currently, but the overall budget will remain about stable. So we'll let you know more after that, after the public hearing and the vote. So it should go well, though. And then the last report is, again, on a subcommittee. The Emergency Medical Services Council has a subcommittee for comprehensive planning. We met this afternoon. The original plan for today's meeting was to actually talk about the goals for the committee and to actually set the goals and the objectives. But we were asked by Medic 1 to add something ahead of that on our schedule. They're getting ready to do a public survey, a scientific survey that'll be done by a third party. They've asked us to come up with the topics, not the actual questions, because as you know from some of the ones that we've done, you have the professionals draft the question so that they're not biased in any way, but to come up with the topics that the questions need to be based on, right? So what is it that we need to find out for the future of medical services in this community? What do people want? How do we pay for them? How are people willing to pay for them? That kind of thing. So that'll be, we worked on that for the entire meeting today. We'll work on it again at our next meeting, which will be next month. So, so a lot going on in the public safety arena right now, but I will try my best to keep you up to date. And that is my report.
Thank you. So Councilmember Hearn was excused this evening. Apparently he's not feeling very well. So Councilmember Stedman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's see here. Lacey South Sound Chamber has its 30th annual golf classic coming up May 18th at 8 a.m. at the golf course at Hawks Prairie. It's at the Links course. I have a team of 4 out there, go every year. It's a great time. And anyone interested, I highly recommend them, if they play golf, to come out and enjoy the day with us. Solid Waste Advisory Committee met on May 2nd, and the main topic of discussion was China's national sword, which is basically it's waves of change in the recycling industry, and what they'll buy and what they won't and what they'll pay for, and the quality of plastics in particular. It's pretty in depth. It has to be very clean or they'll reject it. You can't have lids or caps. The necks of the jars or the bottles have to be narrower than the body. It goes on and on. It's really extensive. You can visit the SWAC's website on the Thurston County website for more information. But other than that, it won't change the curbside rates right now. It possibly can in the future, obviously, but it's affecting everybody nationally and internationally, really, because China is a big consumer and buyer of aluminum cans and plastics and et cetera. So other than that, the other topic was SWAC used to do a Talking Trash newsletter that used to go out twice a year. Each edition or that went out, each issue was $50,000, cost the SWAC $50,000. So they stopped doing it a little over a year ago, I believe it was, and we're trying to think of new ways to implement that again, because you can't use sponsorship because there's rules governing that. But with in regards to change, I know Olympia just as recent as yesterday had a change in their recycling, what they could take and not take. I don't know have all the specifics, but a newsletter like this, the hardest thing for residents to do is get used to something and then have it change over and over and over again, and then not have a talking trash or an avenue of getting the word out to the clients or the customers, and then they get frustrated, obviously, because then it's not picked up, or it does get picked up, and then the hauler gets rejected at the place where they're dropping it off at. Other than that, it's like I said, it's everybody's dealing with it, and it's the main topic of discussion, but it's not affecting curbside rates right now.
So are they? What do they do with all the rejected recyclables?
It goes straight, it gets hauled back at an additional cost and goes straight into landfill.
Wow.
So now you have the double cost of transporting it. It's it doesn't get to the recycler for free. Yeah. And then it costs that same amount to go back to exactly where it came from.
Do they separate it out and then bring back what's good, or
no? If it's contaminated, it's rejected. And
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to add to that, this is a serious situation over time. It's this is the beginning of what's happening, but as they get stricter about what they will and won't accept in China in particular, because they are the largest buyer of it, that's where most of our recycling is actually sent. As they get stricter about what they'll take, the prices will go up for recycling because if they're rejecting it, more and more will go to the landfill.
Sure.
I mean, we've seen it in cardboard recycling, which is typically something recyclers really want. Cardboard, they really, cardboard's a really good recyclable for them. Even on that, the prices have gone up because they've started rejecting more and more of it for not, maybe for the tape being on there, for different things.
Wow.
Yeah, and they really want the more premium stuff, the heavy duty.
Wow. Oh, great. Thank you.
One other thing, I know you probably have it DVR'd at home, but the Mariners won 9-3.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. That's some great news. It's better than your recycling news, that's for sure. So next up is Councilmember Cox.
All righty. Community Action Council will meet on May 23rd. I'm not able to attend that one because Intercity Transit Authority has scheduled a special meeting and hearing that evening. So I'm very fortunate that Councilmember Stedman has agreed to cover for me, and I appreciate that very much. Intercity Transit did meet on May 2nd, and they mainly did routine business, but there's an exciting development. They have the opportunity to lease a space right across the street from the Olympia Transit Center for their youth education support service. It would house a space for rebuilding the bicycles that they give to kids who qualify in their youth program, and essentially bring all of the youth programs under one roof in a much more attractive space than currently exists downtown, which is kind of in a building that's in the middle of like a garage sort of operation that the kids have to thread their way through in order to find that space. So we're optimistic that will take place. We had a really juicy regional planning council meeting on May 4th. The meeting topics included a discussion about a presentation that State Transportation Secretary Roger Millar had given in April. And there was a consensus among the council members that after hearing his presentation, that we really should not be thinking about adding more lanes to I-5 in Thurston County. We need to be thinking of I-5 and our local roads together as a system and looking for ways to move traffic more efficiently through metering and HOV lanes and whatever other creative solutions we can come up with. It was quite an inspiring talk that he gave. We also heard from Allison Osterberg, who's a county planner, who provided an overview of what what's known as the Hearst Fixed Bill, which was ESSB 6091 actually does. And the bill has more to do with growth management than it does with water rights. The Supreme Court's Hearst decision made it the responsibility of local jurisdictions to ensure there is adequate water for development. And the Hearst Fix solidified that local governments can rely on the State Department of Ecology to assess the water availability, which is what had been in the past. Locally, this means that additional planning is going to be needed to be conducted in Thurston County's watersheds to assess the connection between surface water, which is rivers, streams, lakes, and groundwater. And that ecology will lead that planning work. Another piece of that is that the county has to collect a $500 fee for all new development, and that money is to be split between the county and ecology, and they're still determining exactly what that's going to fund. One other planning council thing of interest is that they're working to update the Coordinated Human Services Plan, which is required by state and federal rules and has to be updated every 4 years. And this plan identifies transportation needs of individuals with disabilities, older adults, veterans, emergency services, and people with low incomes. And the it provides strategies for meeting those needs and prioritizes transportation services for funding and implementation. So that is in the works. And then finally, just this evening, the Ad hoc Committee on Homelessness and Affordable Housing met. We had as our guest Thurston County Health Department Director Shelley Slaughter. And in the space of an hour and a half, we covered a number of topics, including Olympia's recently voter-approved home fund and the revenue that will generate, and what they're looking, what they're going to be able to do with that, and how they're able to package that with other funds. We're looking at local government incentives to increase affordable housing stock, how the cities may collaborate on efforts to engage the faith community and helping with homelessness, as Lacey is doing. We just had a forum, was it Tuesday morning?
Yes.
With a number of local faith groups to discuss homelessness, and also the Lacey Food Bank and how we can work together on both of those. The other topics we covered quickly tonight were the county's 5-year plan to address homelessness, which is about to be made public, and the need for collaboration to ensure that housing dollars are used to best advantage to address the greatest need. So,
Great.
that's my report.
Thank you so much. Well, we've reached the end of our agenda. Thank you for tonight, and without objection, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned. And as always, you keep it classy, Lacey.